Welcome to Give It a Nudge. Today, a slightly different episode. We've got Scott Berriman from TenantX, who essentially is the definition of the term flying solo. We don't often get single individuals coming on, but we do today. So Scott, this will be an interesting episode. I'm intrigued to hear where you've come from and where you're going. But welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we get into too much about your history, quick snapshot, elevator pitch. TenantX, what does it do?
So TenantX at the moment is just me. So I'm an independent commercial property consultant in a nutshell, exclusively acting for tenants. So every organisation that has a lease in an office building or an industrial building across really Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, probably my key markets. Anyone who's got a lease would need to engage a tenant rep, and that's what we're known as in the market, a tenant representative. There's probably more tenant reps now than there are leasing agents.
I see. It's interesting. I'd not until I met you.
Yeah, you hadn't heard.
I didn't know they existed. I obviously know about property buyers in residential. That was obviously a huge boom area recently in agents. And I knew that you could go to agents who would find you a lease, so to speak, but they kind of act on both sides. Behalf of both. I didn't realise there was this whole market, and I've had a lot of leases in my time.
Well, there you go.
And I've never had a tenant rep.
Well, that's exactly right. So, you know, resi buyers agents, I mean, that's basically what I am. I'm a buyer's agent for businesses.
Yeah.
So the whole resi buyer's agent thing's been around forever. The tenant representative probably started about, probably 20 years ago.
So a while.
Agents have broken away and said, I'm going to get either engaged by the occupier or just get control of the occupier and the landlord would pay their fee. But the market's obviously matured a lot over the past 15 to 20 years, and a lot of the big agency houses will have their own leasing teams, their tenant rep teams, then they've got their sales teams, their property management teams, their research teams, evaluation teams, etc. So I used to, we can touch on that later, did all the big agency houses, and then kind of left that landlord leasing role and then worked for a tenant leasing business, another tenant rep firm, before I broke out on my own, which was the 5th of June last year, 2023.
Not long at all.
Not long at all.
So we'll get into why we did that later.
Yeah.
But let's set the scene. Let's build your character. Let's do the whole storytelling in order. Let's go back to not the whole life, because we're limited time.
Ready to go.
But yeah. And then you get me started on mine and we'll be here for literally forever.
To line up the coffees.
We met the other day at a One Another charity event day, which was super fun, sorting out clothes. That was a hilarious day. And we touched on some things briefly, but sort of give me a snapshot of where you came from in your career. So, you came out of uni. Did you go straight into property or where did you start?
That's a good question, because I, probably like a lot of people, went through high school and not really knowing which direction and path you want to take. And I remember in year 10, we did work experience. And my stepfather my old man passed when I was a lot younger. My stepfather, who was my dad, still going, he was a chartered accountant and had he was a managing partner of an accounting firm, Thompson Douglas, back in the day.
Proper accounting firm
name, like a legal firm. So he's like, what do you think about accounting? And when you're 16, it's like, I'll give it a crack. So I did a week, I think it was a week or 2 weeks. A week or 2 weeks. But anyway, I worked for another group called, I think, Dewsbury's rings a bell, and I was in their audit team.
Oh my God.
And I remember, which is the boring of boring. Sorry to all the auditors out there. But
they all know.
But it was interesting because they had a Toyota account. I remember going out to Toyota and going through all these files. It was just paper shuffling. I was like, this is not for me. My older brother, Craig, half-brother Craig Williams, he was very successful in real estate. So he climbed the ladder through Jones Lang Wootton, which is now JLL. He was a North Sydney sales guy, moved over to Jakarta, Indonesia, and I think he spent about 8 years of his life over there, on and off, growing that business. And with a 7.5-year gap between us, I was nearing high school, and he goes, why don't you do the property course that I did at TAFE at the time, which is now the Institute of Technology. So I'm like, sure. And I genuinely had an interest in residential, sales, development, just development generally, the whole construction business. So I thought, yes, real estate. So I did this course, and it was 4 years part-time, and I got my first job at, the audience would remember, and you may, a company called Ostwide Funds Management. They were in North Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my first job, I was 18, it was 17 grand a year. I was a trust registry clerk, whatever that means. It was
good title.
Processing applications and redemptions. And I was in corporate, and I loved it. The Christmas parties and the lunches and the this and the that and the meeting all the people. And then I was doing funds management for a couple of years, and then I think the late 80s, early 90s actually, there's a bit of a big dip, and interest rates were high and all that kind of stuff. So I really wanted to get into residential sales at the time, and I remember sending out old school type letters, applying for jobs. Too. Remember that?
I do remember doing that.
And dear sir and madam, and then they get the letter in the mail. You'd open it. We apologise to advise that your application's unsuccessful.
I remember that
too. So I remember for about 2.5 years, I was like, what do I do? I became a professional temp, just doing short-term jobs with Westpac and FAI Insurance and other mobs. I worked for a car dealership for a while. Then I got my first break in retail leasing. Mm-hmm. And through a mate of mine's brother who knew someone at the old Knight Frank, and I was like, amazing. So
this was pre-shopping centres, probably?
No, it was shopping centres. So my role, there was only 3 of us in the retail leasing team. There's only as many retail leasing teams these days where I was. There might still be, but there was a girl that had the CBD market.
Yep.
And then Swanee and I had the metropolitan market. So I had to look after the leasing of about 7 or 8 shopping centres scattered from Wyong, Gosford, DY, Pennant Hills.
Jeez.
So in the car a lot. I thought, this is great. It's fantastic. Freedom. So that was retail leasing. And then they've kind of shut that business down. They said, Scott, you got 2 options. You either not have a job, or B, office leasing out of Parramatta. And that was the launch of my office leasing career.
Out of Para.
Where I'm at today. Parramatta office leasing, I was like, okay, interesting market. First month was just walking the streets and up and down the buildings, and up and down the lifts, and checking off all the landlords and the tenants in the building and doing deals out there. And then I guess it was an accident on my fault, but it worked out in a positive way. Had my car, thought I was the king, number one, and stupidly got busted for a DUI charge back when I was 26.
What car?
My Ford Falcon XR6.
I was hoping it's something really embarrassing.
I was the king. So that was a black flag, and had to not drive. And obviously I needed my car to drive out of that market. So it was ring up my boss at the time and said, have you got any availability in the city office? And lo and behold, there was. And that was my kind of foray into the world of
Not sure that was the learning lesson that you really needed.
Not a learning lesson, but things happen at different times in your life for whatever different
Sliding
reasons,
doors, serendipity,
or an education process, and But so that was my foray into the world of office leasing, and then I was at the Knight Frank business for a while, and then someone at Jones Lang poached me across to Jones Lang, and then 6 years there, and then to CBRE, and then back to Knight Frank 2.0. So that was 22 years of my life.
And so what made you take the leap? Because when you've been in corporate that long, to go out on your own, and look, it's a trend at the moment. There's a lot of people who've been in long-term corporate careers, and if you look at the average age of founders, it's over 40 right now, which is the highest it's ever been. But there's a lot of people making that leap. What do you think it was that made you decide to? Because you could have stayed in corporate for the rest of your career. If you
could have stayed in corporate. I think it was, as I said, after the leasing, the landlord leasing side, office leasing, and I worked for another group in the tenant advisory world, and I was there for a while. I was there during COVID, and there's a few changes in that business, a very small business. But as I was building up my own client base, and come out of COVID, come out the other side, and other clients are contacting me and not necessarily contacting the business.
Yeah, okay.
You kind of just go, how much value do I put on that name hanging up on the lift or on the website? I thought, why can't I just go and do this myself? So I had a chat to my partner Jess, and had a chat to one of my good mates Marcelo, who runs Anytime Fitness and in the UK and here, and then other business owners, and they're like, Scotty, go for it. So I think it was an age thing. It was last year, so I'm 53 now, so 52. I thought, well, I'm not getting any younger.
No one is.
The kids are getting older. Happy with my personal life and family life and my careers. I felt 50 was definitely a turning point for me as a.
I just turned 50.
You just turned 50
last December.
So 50,
5 months ago.
50 was me like, can we drop the S bombs and these things? But
you can, absolutely.
Yeah. So 50 was like, fuck, I need to get some shit done, right? So it was get a personal trainer at Vision Personal Training.
Yeah, not Anytime Fitness.
Well, I've still got my cheap Anytime Fitness membership, which cost me nothing a year, just about. So so it was like, get fit, get brain fit, get body fit. I've always been very healthy and outgoing and athletic and so forth. But it's okay, what's happening with the next 50 years of my life? I've had a great first 50 years.
Yep.
I've learnt so much. I've met some amazing people.
What now?
Done some, probably 1,000 leasing transactions or more. Great clients, great landlords, and they're still partners and contacts of mine, all the agents, the other tenant reps out there. So all the lawyers and the construction, like all of those connections I've got. So I was like, what am I doing? So TenantX was born. And I'm loving it. I'm loving just being in control, working with fantastic people. I'm getting a lot of support from people in the industry. And I remember my first LinkedIn post was like, well done, Scotty, great, fantastic. You deserve, this is your time to shine. And, it's just been me for the first 12 months. And I think in time I'll need support as the business grows.
Yep.
I can't do everything. I can do, and I've got great portals and back office and CRM systems and so forth to get me in control and not dropping the ball. But over time, it'll be maybe a uni grad here and a uni grad there, and then someone else at a senior level might join the business as a...
Tell me, do you think COVID had anything to do with it? And I ask this because this big change in age of founders has happened since COVID. There has been a huge volume of people, and there's a number of reasons.
Yeah, right.
One, there's less jobs at that level in terms of middle management jobs. And two, I think it woke up a lot of people to their lives because they had time to reflect. Whereas when you're working, you're working.
You just
right? You don't have time to think about anything. And when you do on holiday, the last thing you want to think about is work. So when you suddenly have 8 months, 6 months, or however many months it is where you're technically working from home.
That's it.
You kind of reflect on a lot of things, and you are at home.
Yes.
Like you're really at home all the time, whereas you're not really home that much, particularly if you've got kids. You're always out doing stuff. Right? So that's driven this huge glutton of more mature founders, of which if I'm fair to say, because you're my age, I can say it, you are one of those. Yep. Do you think that had something to do with it?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the early days of COVID, I remember it was the 18th of March, I think it was a Monday or a Wednesday, and it was like everyone home, because all the the Dexuses and the Mirvacs were like, everyone home, and then suddenly it was just everyone on the news was like, go home. And I remember, and then we all kind of, banded together as a little family business I was working with, and it was like, what the hell's going on, and blah, blah, and, I was just glued to the TV and understanding what's going on. But it was business as usual, but it was just, everything was just suppressed and dropped.
Well, leasing wasn't exactly booming, right?
Leasing wasn't booming.
There was different challenges for you guys.
But there's still transactions to be done, because even in any period in time, if someone's got a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease, they've got to make a decision 12 months out. Do we stay? Do we go? Do we take less space?
Yeah.
Do we drop down? Do we go up?
If anything, you would have been busier because no one really knew what to do.
Well, I was doing renewals, and I was saying to landlords, hey, they're because obviously certain businesses complied with the threshold for support.
Yep.
The mums and dads, coffee shop operators were at the front of the queue, big businesses at the back of the queue. So subject to where they were in that order. So it was lots of phone calls and nursing. We didn't charge for that advice. It was just like, well, let's just help you get through this period.
Yeah.
Government funding, all that kind of thing. So, but yeah, you're right. I think it was very much a time for reflection, time to clean out the junk and clean out all your Gmails and your personal emails and your professional emails and going back through who to contact, checking in with people. You know, it was a very difficult time. It was an eerie time, but it was a time to reset. It was a big reset, wasn't it?
It was a bit. Interestingly, the data I've read, and I've read a lot. I mean, Nudge had only been going a short period of time, and it died. It actually ended up being a very good thing because startups, online businesses, cloud businesses boomed, obviously, which was our space. But there was a period where it was very, very quiet, which is why we started the show, actually, interestingly. We had nothing to do.
Anyone for a coffee?
Let's start a show. But the data I've read is people connected with people they hadn't connected with.
So true.
Massively. Like old school friends, old uni friends, friends from work, people, you know, everyone just started, because again, nothing to do.
Well, that's
playing cricket in the street, it only lasts a certain amount of time.
And golfing became, you know, because wherever you could get out on the golf course.
Well, I'm not a golfer. I don't have the patience for
Either
it.
am I.
5 holes and I'm like done.
It should be, but yeah.
And that really upsets other golfers. If you say I don't want to play after 5 holes, they're like, I'm just going to go now. They get really upset about it. So I used to play before children. I don't really. I'm good with what's it called? Holy moly, crazy golf. I love that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm down with that.
Pitch and putt. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I did a lot of swimming. I don't know why.
You look
I was near the water. It seemed like a good idea. But yeah, there was a lot of people reconnecting. And I think interestingly, a lot of those conversations sparked businesses between people who hadn't seen each other for ages.
Exactly.
Who'd realised they had complementary skills.
Yeah.
They still had that friendship, trust bond that was maybe not expired, but was just not as close.
Well, that's it.
It's still now, if you think about it, and people don't because we're all too busy trying to get on with what's happening now.
Everyone's too busy, aren't they?
Everyone's trying to work out what the hell's going to happen in America, right? Well, we all know what's going to happen.
Oh my God.
Let's not get into that.
No.
But I think
that'll get me down a whole rabbit hole.
No, you haven't got time for that. But it's really interesting in that no one actually reflects on it anymore. I try and bring it up quite a lot in this podcast because people have a lot of varying opinions on it, and everyone was affected very differently.
Yeah.
People who come up from Melbourne on this show are generally very angry about it, really angry about it. But I think it had a hugely positive effect off the back of a lot of negatives. Like,
Yes.
I don't know how my children are affected by it. They're 14 and 16 now, so they would have been, 12 and 14. To watch on the television potentially the end of the world, which was kind of how it was touted to some degree, must have, will somehow come out later in their life, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of that going on. It was very much a time to, without a shadow of a doubt. It was a time to connect and a time to think and then...
And walk.
Process kind of what's of value to your life and be grateful for the things that we've got. I think a lot of people, and I'm a very, grateful person. I'm very present person. I'm a big listener and a thinker, and I can talk. And I, exactly like you were just saying, like reaching out to people. And remember that time we just couldn't leave our 5K zones or whatever it was. And that was difficult. I remember the family, we used to do that crossover map to work out where that...
I quite like that.
Where that, crossover map was. Well, let's meet at that point. And then, but if you had a boat, you could go and meet somewhere else. It was all just very surreal and weird. But for the kids, my kids are 3 years, both India and Jack, 3 years younger than yours. And they probably saw the upside, no school and Google Classroom. But then we're trying to work. And they were trying to teach the kids.
Oh, it's horrible.
That was tough. That was tough.
That's got post-traumatic stress back.
And then it was like
awful.
Another bottle of, open the red wine.
Oh my God, yeah, the cellar got smashed.
So,
Dan Murphy's guys were just flying around. They were the only people moving around, right?
And then the gym shut down and it was like, well, so there was lots of walks. And I'm over at the inner west of Drummoyne, so lots and lots of walks around the Bay Run there.
What about all the garages that are open with gyms in them? So many garages with gyms in them. They haven't been used at all since, by the way.
That's exactly true. That's exactly true.
So tell me, obviously you've gone out your own now.
It's gone out my own.
What have you found, and I want to start, because I'm going to ask both questions, but what have you found the easiest? What has been easier to you than you anticipated?
Well, it's just, I guess, being in the market for so long, and as I said, having all those partnerships with all those different people that makes up any industry, whether you're an engineer and you've got your circle there and you've commercial property or advertising or tech, so because I've known all those industry stalwarts for so long, and then a lot of people that come into the big instos, I'm probably losing touch with them, but I'm slowly reconnecting. What did I find easy? Day one, I'd kind of gone into this, okay, money in the bank, set everything up. It was obviously that process, I remember it clearly. I had everything in notes. of all the things that I need to do to set up this business, all the things I wanted to do, all the taglines.
It's probably still in there.
It's all, of course it's in there. Yeah, I'll never delete it. There's all the things. But obviously, the first thing was speak to my accountant. I had Jack Indy Partners when I was essentially contracting for this other group. So I'd already kind of run my own book for 6 years. And that was the other thing. It was like, why am I doing this myself? And why am I giving away half my fees? So let's just go and break away. So it was the brand, and TenantX is,
I like the name.
It's great. It's people I work for tenants, and the reason, just to segue to TenantX, was a couple of reasons why. It was a bit of the techie side of it, but when we talk in the industry about a confidential tenant moving from building A to building B, you say, yeah, well, TenantX is in the market, and they've just moved from Aussie Square to 363. You don't say Tenant J or Tenant L.
No.
It's TenantX.
Why is that?
And even on a lease, you might say TenantX, like insert here. So there was that play on that as well.
Do you know the history of that? Like the John Doe, do you know where it comes from? No, we should look that up.
So then there was then there was TenantX, was exclusive and all that kind of stuff. But so that was born. But I remember the notes that I was taking and all the things I had to do and everything. And it's you lean on other people, but a lot of the things you just kind of work out yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's what YouTube's there for, and Google. How do I do this? And once you get all your systems and processes, then you go, okay, well, I need business insurance and I need this. And then I had Juliet helping me with all my branding, which I love, websites, capability statements. So I had to write all those and put all that together. So you get all your assets there.
Yep.
And then, your bank account's set up and your invoices are ready to go. And it's just ticking things. What else do I need? Then obviously, I need my services agreements for my clients. Go and see a lawyer. Get all that sorted out with all your terms and conditions. And then that's all on Canva. So every time, different client, change this, different brief. And then it was just, let's go. And I had a couple of clients that supported me with my transition from the other group. And I am very grateful for them for really kind of keeping that momentum up in the first year. And now it's just a lot of, it'll be now the next level of marketing. So it'll be right into LinkedIn ads and targeting the
podcasts,
get the website up and more testimonials, more case studies, all the stuff that and then all that business development, which is all part of it. So you're focusing on the client and saving them the most money and saving them time. And really that's my pitch. Yeah. You've got a lease, you got a business to run. Real estate is my domain. I'll save you time, all that time that you're speaking to agents or I'll do all those speaking to the agents. I'll speak to all the landlords.
And leases.
I'll go and look at all the properties. You come and look at the top 10 with me, and then we'll get down to 3. But it's saving them money, right? So the things that they think they can negotiate with the landlord, I can go, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And we should try this. And I know we can get this. And my fee is, you recover my fee 10 to 50 times.
Yeah, it should be negated.
It's not even a blip in the savings. So.
I think Australia is a very supportive environment to start a business, go out on your own. I think it is. I know there's always been a lot of talk about tall poppy, but having moved from London many years ago, and I've had, started 5 or 6 companies here now, it's much more supportive. But it doesn't mean that they don't shoot you down later when you have success. That's a different matter. But that's right. But at the beginning, it's super supportive. Whereas in other countries, like if I tried to do what I've done in the UK, I would have had people genuinely try and just destroy me before I got going.
And that's true. And I think you asked me the question earlier. So that whole leap into going out my own, and it is a leap, and it's backing yourself. I've got this, because we all have self-doubt and, oh God, maybe.
That never goes away.
The self-doubt, yeah. So you kind of go, am I good enough? Yes, I am. I've got this. And then once you've got your support around you, just whether it's your own team or your external consultants, once you've got that team and that army, well, then you can all kumbaya and let's go. But definitely the leap of faith. And I think a lot of people in corporate go, well, I've got a mortgage and the kids and the daycare and this, and I can't go from a salary to commission only. Basically, anyone who's got a business, we don't earn a salary. It's a fight or flight.
Do you still think of it as a leap now?
No.
And I think that's the interesting
part. I don't.
My first leap in my 20s, I can't even remember what that felt like.
Right.
but I don't think I've had a single person on here who, after they've made the leap, and it feels like a leap.
Yeah.
It never feels like a leap after you've done it. It
No.
just feels like a step.
Exactly.
And that's very hard to articulate that to anybody.
To anyone else. That's right.
But once you've done it, it was like, oh, that wasn't
too bad.
That was like, I've made a big deal about it.
And for me, it's not a startup because I started. It's just
But it is.
It's a startup, but it is a startup. You're correct, but it's I've started up my own business, but it's not like I've come up with a new.
It's an extension
product,
of what you were doing to some degree,
and I'm testing the market.
Yeah, well, you may.
Well, I may, and I have exactly, and I haven't even. I've got some crazy ambitious ideas, and one day, TenantX could be an app.
Could be.
Right, and
there's no reason it wouldn't be, and it most likely will.
Yep.
When you think about
when I think about it and what I could do, and streamline a lot of the processes, and anyway, that's
then you can call it tenantx.ai, and then everyone will fund you.
That's right, exactly.
So that was the easiest thing. What was the hardest? What was something that you probably didn't foresee that you were going, oh my God, no one told me about that? There must have been something.
I think, and obviously working with Brad and Tankstream Labs has been fantastic. Brad's been a great supporter of mine, and working within the community, which has been great.
They're very strong community.
Very strong community.
Very good.
Very strong community. That was, so before I answer the tough ones, that was an easy one. It was like, okay, where am I going to work? Well, I'll rent a desk at Tankstream Labs because they're also my client, and Brad's a mate, and I'm his real estate partner on all his sites. So that was easy, and then getting into that network and meeting other people, meeting you, many other. Oh, you got a marketing business. Oh, you got this business. So that's been great, and that's going to continue to grow. I think. The people say, "What about the loneliness factor?" It's just you, but I've kind of got to an age where it's like I just come to work and I focus.
Just actually, I want to be left alone. I've had enough people.
Well, exactly, because the morning I get it. When you're a kid and you grow up and you go, what you do on the weekend and blah, blah, and the coffee chats. And then next thing you go, oh, it's birthday cake time. We've got to stay out here. There's another half hour lost, then a meeting. There's another hour lost, then another meeting. Oh, Scotty, can you come into this? I haven't done any work today.
Yeah.
And I love doing work. I love the focus and I love processing.
I'm with you on that. I can't stand all that shenanigans.
Chatter.
No,
yeah, exactly.
That's why we're down here on level 6.
Been there, done that. The difficult things, I think, there is a bit of kind of, it's just me. But then I just pick up the phone and talk to someone and I'm with someone. The business, getting the brand out there and getting the business development, and like we all in sales, essentially, it's reaching out to people that are cold and they go, "Who are you?" and don't know you, and is this a spam and blah blah blah. So that's been you try a few of those and you might not get a bite, and you might see that your competitors picked up either an old client of yours or whatever, but that will change because I've realised when I'm going through all of my contacts now, I go, oh my God, I know so many people, and
I know is it when you actually take the time and you go, there's so much opportunity. So there's a question, right? When you do lose someone to a competitor, or when you do have those days, because we all have those days.
Yeah.
Is there something that you do to get yourself out of it? Do you go for a walk? Do you go for a swim? Do you listen to some music? Do you just have a chat to yourself? Do you...
All of those things. All of those
things.
At
the same time?
Nearly. Don't go for a swim and a walk at the same time. But as I've got older, I realise if you can't control everything, when things are out of your control, you go, I can't control the weather tomorrow. I can't control what's happening over here or there.
No.
You control your own little world as much as you can, and shit happens. I mean, I might have an old client of mine, and then suddenly someone at CBRE picks it up and go, fuck. And then I might just go grab a coffee and go, fuck, what happened there? And then you realise, oh yes, we've got a new person and they've got a relationship with them. So I can't control that because I don't know the new person.
Yeah.
So you kind of, you do. I'm just in 24-hour cycles, no more than that. Clear your head, go for a walk, go for a run, go to the gym, smash out the weights and go, and that drives you to pick up the phone and you go and find another 50 leads.
It's interesting. I went to the gym this morning. I haven't been to the gym this week because, I'm not even going to go into why, but I haven't been to the gym this week. And I find that I get far more stressed if I don't do things like that.
Yeah.
They really do have a massive impact. I think the thing I've always found when you run your own business, and I don't know if you found this, and this is just from when I was younger, obviously, because I've now been doing it for 18, 20 years. So it's been a long time since I haven't. But I always found it easier to accept my mistakes working for myself than I did working for someone else. And I have no idea why. That could be something to do, probably my childhood.
Yeah.
But I don't know, have you found that? Because obviously you've gone through this quite recently, so I'm interested to know.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, you always self-reflect. And I think with any, whether it's a proposal you put forward and you're one of three, and you get down to two and you miss out and you kind of go, what are the reasons why? And, I remember pitching to a large multinational, and, I work with small businesses up to national organisations. I've got multiple sites across Australia to ASX-listed companies. So it can be a raft of organisations, and you're speaking to the C-suite and assisting with board papers and so forth. But when you lose, you kind of go, okay, thank you for that feedback, and take it on board. And then it makes you, I guess, the next time you put a proposal forward, I'm going to include this. Or what were the things that you liked about my proposal, and what were the things that missed out? So you can certainly can't change. I mean, they say, well, you missed out maybe because it's just you. And I go, well, I get that. But what happens if I have other tenant rep partners that I can have on my proposal, that if I'm away or I get hit by a bus, you've got John and Fred and Kirsty to take over. So things like that. So
funny thing about that argument, though, is the same amount of people who won't use you because it's just you.
Yeah.
There's the same amount of people who want to use you because
you're independent. That's right.
So,
and I've got no conflicts. And I can
as
sign
long
an
as you
NDA.
understand that it goes both ways. When you make the
ways.
jump, they're different people that you didn't necessarily know before. So you have to accept that actually I'm in a different world now.
Well, that's right.
And that's quite hard to do.
It is. And look, you're exactly right. And sometimes with the bigger agency houses, they might have a global account with Amazon or global account with Apple or someone like that. But then sometimes on the ground here in good old Sydney, they might have a director in charge, but the minions are kind of running the project, and there's not a lot of communication. I'm all about communication. Like, I sometimes over-communicate. Emails and just checking in and making sure here and so forth.
Real estate guys do that, I think, in all forms of real estate. Real estate people communicate a lot.
Well, residential, a lot.
Oh my gosh, I know. I've got a lot of friends in residential. They're annoying.
And once you're on their mailing list, I've got some properties and.
But I've done a lot of commercial, and they do over communicate, and it's good and bad. At least I'm never wondering.
No.
But sometimes I'm like, I'm really busy.
Just go away.
Like, I thought we paid you to do this so I didn't have to talk to you all the time. Wasn't that the whole point? Exactly. So yeah, that's it.
But it's been so far. Look, it's been challenging. It's been rewarding. I think the reward is greater than the challenges. I think the challenges will continue to come. Yeah. Obviously, but I think for me, it's just I'm very much systems and processes. So get the system processes. Then once all that's humming and all your CRMs and your database and all that type of stuff, then the rest is just LinkedIn referrals, repeat business. Partnering with people you want to work with, meet as many people as possible.
Yep.
Open up my network, and then grow the business. Grow the business.
That is serendipity.
And I don't need to take on the world. I mean, I don't need to be really. I can't see myself having a team of 5 to 10. I say that now, but maybe fast forward to 5 to 10 years. I look at this. I'm 53. I mean, I want to be working till I'm 73 or more. So to me, it's a long-term plan. I want to keep it.
You'll have 5 to 10 people.
I will have 5 to 10 people.
You'll have more.
More.
Than that, yeah. Or you'll have 5 to 10 AI agents at least.
Well, that's it. Eventually, you just have people, and then you're running the business. I'm off to Europe for a month. So that's the grand master plan in 10 years' time.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. I think it's a really interesting episode because I don't think we've ever had a sole founder, or maybe ones that have just started but want to take on the world, and they might be super young and absolutely no idea what it's like to manage 100 people, which is awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really interesting to hear the way you talk about it.
Well, it's coming out of that corporate and working with all the corporates and being the corporate. And I look back and I go, okay, well, in my corporate days, I kind of had 3 clients. I had my landlord clients who paid my fees. I had tenants that I needed to speak to do a deal in my buildings. And then I had my internal clients, my managing director, my CEO, and all the C-suite within my employer. So now, my only purpose and thing to do is talk to tenants and deal with tenants.
That's probably a good thing.
It's just streamlined.
I feel like they should do that in recruitment. We should just have people who just look after individuals and get them a job, because it doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. You try and help candidates find jobs, but you also work for the clients because they pay you fees. Maybe one day we'll have like buyers agents for candidates to find jobs.
Yes.
When AI takes over and there aren't as many. Maybe, I don't know, who knows?
Well, that's it.
Hopefully I'll be long gone by then.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Look, I think it's great. This episode will get massive views because it's property. Anything we put out is property.
Yep.
We're in Australia. The whole world wants to watch it.
Great.
So that'll be good. Is there anything, I guess, your parting advice to someone who's potentially thinking about, because it seems like it's been very natural for you to make this step, right? So if it's someone's sitting there doing exactly what you're saying, I can't do that because I've got the mortgage, I've got the kids' school fees, I've got all these things, but they really, really want to.
Yep.
What's your advice to them?
Map it out. I think you've always got to plan and set goals and work back from those. So where do you see yourself here? What do you need financially, and what does that look like? And what is your cost base? I mean, I went through a separation, divorce, and that was the turning point for me, which didn't come up earlier. So 22 years of working and wife and kids, and then there was a split there. So then it was like, that was a lot of the reset for me, and got me to where I'm now. For those individuals who are contemplating the next step, I think, look, money's tough, and we're in a very tough economical times at the moment, cost of living and mortgage stress and all that sort of thing. There's probably never the right time, but I think if you've got some money in the bank and you can go, you know what, talk to as many people, talk to other business owners, and you'll have to take a hit. But if you can bring, for those individuals, whatever industry and sector they're in, if they can bring one or two clients with them from day one, just to start them on that financial journey, then that becomes the buffer. So I started with 50 grand in my TenantX bank account, but I knew I had some clients and some invoices coming behind that. Yeah. So suddenly so then you go, okay, good, I can breathe. Now let's go.
Yeah. And
then it's just marketing and marketing. So you've got to back yourself. You got to just go, let's go. And I really haven't thought about failure. Not failure, it's because it's me. I'm the brand, and I don't fail. I don't want to fail. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever thought about failure at the beginning. Right. Comes later.
Right.
I think when you're exiting businesses, that's probably when I've had the most fear about failure.
Okay.
Exiting businesses is awful.
Right.
Awful experience. I've done it in different ways. There's nothing fun about it.
It's like a divorce.
To some degree it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly if you've got business partners and things like
sure.
that. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on. Super interesting.
So thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity.
We will definitely get you back on when you have 5 to 10 people, which will probably be about 8 months, but we'll see.
Oh, God.
And yeah, we'll look forward to following your journey. We'll put your links down below, so if anyone is out there and is a TenantX looking for someone to help them and save them time and easily get 10 times your feedback.
Easy.
They can contact you. Other than that, I'm guessing the easiest way to contact you probably LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. My website's got my details, tenantx.com.au. So you'll find me.
Too easy.
Just Google my name, you'll find me.
Thanks for coming on.
Easy. Thank you.
Thank you. No one's ever shaken my hand before. That's a whole new thing. We should make that a thing. Thanks very much for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed our first sole sort of founder ever on the show. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next week.